I guess we'll start. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming here. Let me begin by introducing myself. Because I didn't introduce myself in the first session, and my boss was there. All right. My name is Fred Uy, and I'm currently working for the Chancellor's Office. I came from Cal State LA. Okay, before moving on to the Chancellor's Office. At the Chancellor's Office, I'm one of the directors for the Educator Preparation Program there, and also co-direct the Center for the Advancement of Instruction in Quantitative Reasoning. Okay, so thank you. So our session for today will be rethinking the future of math and quantitative reasoning instruction. And we have two distinguished presenters here, Dr. Shaheen, who is from Wright State University, okay, which in Dayton, Ohio. She's the department chair there for mathematics. And we also have Dr. Vargas, who is from College of Coastal Georgia, where he is the assistant vice president for academic success. Okay, and also a math professor. All right. So without further ado, so what we're going to do before that is that they're going to do their presentation, and after that, we'll be opening up the floor for any questions that you might have. Okay. And then they'll be more than happy to answer them. All right. So let's begin, Dr. Shaheen.
Thank you. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for coming to the session. Thank you for your interest. Let's see, I want to start by telling you just a little bit about the institution so you can see how, you can calibrate how portable anything I have to say is for your own. We are a regional access-oriented four-year state institution in Dayton, Ohio. We have around 15,000 undergraduate students, undergraduate and graduate combined, not including medical school. And about 9,000 of those students are undergrads, and we have 7 colleges. Including a College of Engineering and Computer Science. Hot off the presses from our fact book, we're a 2022 incoming class. This is only for our first-time students, both full and part-time, degree seeking. A little less than 30% are first-generation students, a little more than a third are Pell Grant recipients. Average high school GPA of 3.36 and average combined ACT of 22. 48% have Stafford loans, and 45% are receiving scholarships of one form or another. We do have a large transfer population, and I would say that about 50% of any incoming class, first year, not first year, not counting like anybody who sets foot on our campus, about 50% of them need remediation in math, I would say. I was hired 3.5 years ago now as an outside chair, and a number of years before I arrived, about a decade before actually, I like to say, Wright State had math pathways before math pathways were cool. They had well-defined pathways for their majors, a mathematical and quantitative literacy pathway, college algebra, statistics, that feeds our largest population there are psychology and nursing students, but we have some College of Education and some social science majors, and an early and middle childhood mathematics education pathway. When I arrived, I did look at data for who was taking, which students were taking what course, and from my perspective, the advising was very robust. There'd be very few students, rarely in college algebra, that had a major like art history or something, and first of all, there were so few, I didn't bother mining the data any further, and the data that I had wouldn't tell me when if they changed majors. It was their current day major. So I felt like the advising structure was was quite robust in placing students where they needed to be. Now in 2013, they had redesigned their developmental math courses. It used to be a traditional sit in a classroom, paper and pencil, run by GTAs in the math department. They'd switched to an Emporium model using ALEX. And they did increase their DEV completion rates by 13%, but the actual completion rate varies quite significantly depending on the pathway, the worst being the College of Liberal Arts students who need the quantitative reasoning pathway. They have the worst pass rate of the DEV classes. And regardless, whether you look at the nursing students or the students from the College of Liberal Arts, I tracked students who started in DEV in one semester to see what percentage of them actually finished the math gateway, and wherever there could be a leakage, there was a leakage. Some don't pass the DEV, and then of those who pass the DEV, very few actually will take the math course the next semester, and so overall in the 1 year we saw a 30% completion of the gateway. The pass rates in the math gateways were not bad, but it's just the students were getting in there. So we got, in 2016, we were awarded a grant by the Ohio Department of Higher Education, a pilot grant, and we were awarded jointly with Sinclair Community College, which is our largest feeder community college in downtown Dayton, to start designing curriculum for co-requisite remediation. And then subsequently we were granted by an individual grant, the implementation grant, so that we would be able to take our model to scale. So we have now co-rec remediation in 3 of our pathways: quantitative reasoning, statistics, and college algebra. And quantitative reasoning and intro to stats has gone to scale this fall. So our model is a little bit complicated. And there was a lot of thought that went into picking this model before we landed on it. So I'll tell you a little bit of our thoughts. These boxes down here, these are the college credit bearing class. They could be an MTH or an STT class. We wanted to go with a heterogeneous model. We wanted only half the class to be students who needed co-rec remediation and the other half to be direct placed, so that we could address any concerns that people might have that the class content was going to get diluted if we had 100% co-rec remediation in there. And also we didn't want to create a model that was necessarily going to stigmatize the students who needed co-rec, right? That, oh, here, you all are in a special class. You don't get to take it with the other people. So, and of course it's a scheduling advantage as well. I can then spread the co-rec all across the time slots that we schedule the class. And so more students have access to be able to take the class that they need. Our class sizes are 40. And so we wanted a 50-50, as close to a 50-50 as we could get, but we can't afford to have a developmental math class run with only 20 people. So the complication in our model comes from the fact that we take the co-rec students from one college level class and half from the other college level class and put them in the same DEV. So this has created a need for teaching and learning community among the faculty, as opposed to I walk in and I cover the syllabus at the pace that I like. So all 3 of the people teaching these classes could likely be different. That person definitely is, because it's our GTAs right now who teach the developmental. We don't have the capacity for me to take 1/3 of the teaching load for the faculty that I have and put it in the DEV class. The number of credit hours varies. For quantitative reasoning, these classes are 3. This class is 3 credits and that class is 3 credits. Statistics and college algebra, this class is 4 credits, so that one is 2. We decided that a package of anything over 6 was completely unreasonable for the students, so we made sure that the combo was 6. So then we had to decide who was going to be eligible for the co-rec, and there was no data that we could use from anybody anywhere as to who was going to be a good fit. So we decided that then the morally correct thing to do was to let everybody in for quantitative reasoning and intro stat, because who would we exclude, right? We had no information. So we let everybody in, and so far we've not had enough people through to make us regret that decision. In fact, you'll see that we have pretty good success rates. So college algebra, of course, is a trickier prospect. And so what we decided for the pilots was to go back to our remediation model. We require 5 modules of ALEKS that have been chopped up in various ways. And most students can only finish 3 in one semester. So we decided that we just want to cut down the time for those students. And so if you're missing the last 2 modules, we'll let you into college algebra. So how successful have we been? Last year, we served 202 students across the 3 pathways. In co-rec, we gave access to the college credit-bearing class for 202 students. This fall alone, we're doing 220, so we really have gone to scale. But last year, we had 71 students co-rec in quantitative reasoning, and you can see that there was no observable difference in their success rates. However, I will say that the folks who do the statistical analysis for me tell me I don't have a big enough N yet to make this statistically significant, because both those success rates are moving. So take this as a visual, not a statistically significant statement. Stat 1600, things are a little bit different. A high 70% for the success rate among direct place, and a little more than 60%. Math 1280, like the rest of the universe, we struggle mightily, and This success rate here is in fact a fake one, because that includes what we call our College Credit Plus students, our high school students who come to college to take a class. I categorically object to using them as part of our success data, because that course is supposed to be designed for students who couldn't manage to get through it in high school, not the best and the brightest that a high school has to offer. So if you remove them, that actually drops into the slightly better than 55% range. Yeah, we have a lot of them in there, and they're very successful, but it's not, of course, designed for them. So the gap is actually kind of like the intro stat. It's just that everything is horrible, right? When you're asking questions, here are the kinds of things that we've been talking about. I'm happy to answer any question, but I just wanted to throw out there things that were really prominent for us as we were doing the work. So of course there was designing the curriculum. That took a great deal of thought, and in fact a huge paradigm shift. You know, we're not fixing your K through 12 problems. We're trying to get you to pass this one very tightly defined course. Dealing with issues of change among the faculty, everything changed. It wasn't just that, oh, we introduced this new course. Suddenly we started to have to look at everything that we were teaching in any of our classes, how we're teaching. Partnering with people across the university. Usually, you know, when you do things in the math department, you just fight amongst yourselves and take care of it, right? But now all of a sudden, I know the guy at the registrar's office who does the back-end programming for registration processes. It's a complicated setup, and so we came outside our department in order to have the project be successful. Understanding how important it is. As a chair, it's been very, very valuable for me to have high-level institutional support for the faculty's work and recognition for it, because it's hard work and it impacts them in many, many ways that they weren't anticipating. And now that we've gone to scale, all of a sudden it's not just the coalition of the willing who were part of the initial grant, but everybody now is teaching it. Well, not everybody, but there's a collection of faculty who are teaching in it. All sorts of things are coming to the foreground now. Soft skill issues, we see students about 1 to 2 years before we normally would see, and some of them we probably would never have seen because they would have just gotten flushed out in that. So all of a sudden classroom management looks suddenly different. Students are coming in there who don't necessarily have good soft skills or are not college ready as we like to think, and so they're having to manage classrooms in ways that they've never had to before. Literacy issues are coming up for us. Most of the students who place into math co-rec also place into English co-rec, and so they're trying to navigate, is it that the student can't read, is it reading comprehension issue, or is it a math issue? We're partnering with our colleagues in the English department who've run the ALP remediation model for a long time now, who are real experts on it. The model that I described has really required us to move from lone wolf to a teaching and learning community, so the kind of support that faculty need in order to facilitate that and the conversations around that. Concerns that in spite of our best efforts, we're really, they're not going to be as successful in successor courses, and so the kind of data that we're needing to collect to reassure ourselves that this really is going okay. And then now that we have a more intimate look at these students, understanding what assumptions have we built into our courses that actually form barriers to success and barriers to equity, unwittingly, not maliciously, but what have we been assuming about our students all along that is completely false. That is, so lots of interesting conversations, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So thank you. A curriculum question for you. Being a former dean of education and a K-12 teacher, I was sitting in my high school daughter's large assembly the other day, and a counselor stood up in front of everybody in LA Unified and said, well, I don't have the math gene. Many of you don't have the math gene, so it's okay. And I started sweating, and then my wife had to calm me down. But in a curriculum standpoint, several of our campuses are experimenting with mindfulness in math and bringing that in as a way of undoing some of the scarring that's happened along the way. It's not so much that I can't be confident in it. I just don't have any confidence that I can do it. Any experimentation or notes you could share with us about that?
This is an excellent point that you bring up. The big conversations we've had around that is that we've decided that where that conversation has to happen is in the co-rec class. I don't think that's necessarily the right thing, but I think it's a good place to start, because the folks who are in the co-rec class I can kind of handpick better. Well, they're the GTAs, but they get support by certain faculty who are training them and being in the classroom with them. And so I can control who's in there. And these are people who are open to bringing in things about mindset and and a growth mindset versus a I'm done type of thing. My hope is that eventually, as we introduce those conversations in there, they're going to seep into the first year courses where they really need to be for across, even into our 2000. I mean, even into the calculus sequence, right? That those are conversations that really need to happen. So, honest answer: we're not experts. So I can't like hand you something. Oh, here's what we do that really, really works. But it's certainly on our the top of our list of things that we're trying to introduce into the co-rec curriculum explicitly.
How do you set up the grading? Thank you. And for the co-requisite to ensure that the students who are in the co-requisite actually participate and show up?
Okay, so attendance is mandatory. You get 3 unexcused absences, and then you automatically fail the co-rec class. So the people who are teaching it do a lot of one-on-one intervention with students, encouraging them to keep coming, trying to understand why they exceeded the 3. And when this first started, there was a school from Tennessee that said that this was flexible for them and that the chair would just kind of arbitrate. And I was like, I'm never doing that. We have policy. So stupid. And then the universe heard me. So I find myself arbitrating this all the time. Excuse me. So that's one way that we have them come in. Once they've missed a certain number of classes, we ask advisors to intervene because we start worrying that they've gone past a point of no return and we want to understand what's going on. So we're using our advisor partners to step in earlier than they normally would. We're not waiting for the first return grade. And the co-rec classes are all activity-based.
So do they get a grade for the class?
No, but they have their participation grade. I mean, it's not, you can't just come and sit in the back with your earbuds in. You're actually participating in your group and doing the worksheets and asking questions and answering questions. That's how you get your attendance grade. And they are all activity-based. There's very little of any presenting of materials for them.
Okay, thank you. And then Dr. Sahin and then Dr. Vargas. Your turn.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Herman Vargas. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Academic Student Engagement at the College of Coastal Georgia. We have already great questions, and don't worry, we're going to have an opportunity to come back and then just keep looking at the nitty-gritty of how this can work, the lessons that we have learned from the field. And I mean, I jokingly say from Allstate that we know a thing or two because we have seen a thing or two, right? So there's no point of reinventing the wheel. We don't have anything special other than we have tried a lot of things. And this is just a good opportunity to share what has worked well, what needs improvement. So these are the results and lessons from the field. The first thing that I want to address is the time and the co-requisite support needs to be used very wisely. So when you look at what's it that is happening in this co-rec course, you need to be careful. Do not teach material that is not completely linked to the content that is presented in the gateway course. I have taught this course, just so you know, I'm a faculty member in the math department chair. I mean, I have done the elementary algebra, the intermediate algebra. We have done a lot of different changes. And as we go through this, you're going to see that some components are not going to be just for historical purposes, but just to show you that the place where you are right now, I commend you for taking this step, co-rec at scale, because I'll tell you, this would not have fly when we started this in fall of 2014. So we actually went to co-rec, but we still had a foundation course. We said, all right, we're going to take those students that have a small gap in preparation, and we're going to put them in the co-rec. But what about those students that have a very large gap in preparation? At the time, this would not, I mean, there was no data across the nationwide. This would not have sell so that everyone goes into the co-rec. So what did we do? We had a foundation course. So we moved from elementary, intermediate algebra, and then gateway to a foundation course, and then a gateway course with co-rec. But I'm going to show you all the data to say, well, we have kept evolving, and now for fall of 2018, we have gone at scale with just co-rec. So our foundation course has gone away. So you may be feeling like, what are we going to do with those students that need just the greatest support? And I will tell you that, yeah, we need to do something, but prerequisite course is not the answer, and we have the data to show that. So back to this, it is, I will tell you, as a faculty member, I remember one class where I said, well, students need to know the order of operations, right? And yes, students need to know the order of operations. I came with a quiz of the order of operations, and the only thing that I accomplished was just I destroyed their self-confidence, right? Yes, I had a quiz just to ratify that they did not know how to use the order of operations. When college algebra was starting with functions, why am I doing this just to destroy their confidence in math when functions is something so enriching and so important they could be learning? So just make sure that the time is not about remediating what they were supposed to learn in high school. It is just what is exactly the things that they need for to be successful in the gateway course. On the flip side, I remember presenting, so we had to do the distance formula, all right? The distance formula is just something very rich that if you do discovery to get to the distance formula, it's just a great opportunity. Sometimes, so I would come to the prerequisite support course and say, well, we're going to be doing the distance formula in the gateway course. So this is the exercise. Here you have 2 points, you figure it out, all right? And they would have their 15, 20 minutes. Everyone had the opportunity to figure that the distance formula on their own, all right? And then someone could tell me, well, you should be doing that with every student, not only the ones that need the support. And that's true, but when you have a course of 30, 40 students, it is harder to do. So if you have an opportunity to have just a more intimate environment where those students are not going to have the same type of pressure, we were able to transform students that were completely apprehensive on their ability to do mathematics into students that in the gateway course, now they were participating. Oh, I know where this is coming from. So I know in your presentation earlier this morning, you talked about making sure that the co-rec is as a preparation for what they're going to do in the next course, instead of just remedial of where they're having issues. The support that students need goes beyond content, study skills, discipline, persistence. You need to make sure that as they're learning these study skills, that this is not happening in a vacuum. Some of the challenges that you have with freshman courses is that if you just tell them study skills just because, it's just a lot harder to get it across than if you do that within the context. It is not about just the content. You need to assist the students to become good learners. And if that means I have students that come and tell me, are you going to give us a study guide for the test? And my answer is no, but I'm going to teach you how to make one, right? And so if you do that, it is just a skill that they're developing as they're preparing for the exam. And that becomes the graded assignment. You develop your own study guide, right? And that is going to be something that is going to be useful, not just for the math course, it's going to be useful in general as they continue their collegiate career. So usually the assignments are graded activities as a way to promote engagement or enforce attendance. Your question, like, what are we going to do so they show up? It is not an easy task, but you need to make sure that every day there's going to be an assignment that is going to be graded. At our institutions, they do get a grade for the support class. For the support class, it is also connected to the grade that they get in the gateway course. So it is just a combination, and we made it into, let's say, a weight scheme, just so that there is no way in which they can fail one and pass the other one. And because, as you will see, that could create problems with financial aid if they end up failing one and passing the other one. So be open to and be ready to solve additional administrative challenges. Yes, I mean, as you do this, there are going to be a lot of things that are not going to work well the first time around. And I remember having a discussion here in California last year where we had a lot of faculty members that were really concerned that they were not ready to have the model that they would feel comfortable with by fall of 2018. And my point to them was, I completely understand, but the comparison is, are we going to do the same thing that we were doing in the past? I know that you probably do not feel that you have your golden model, but that doesn't mean you're going to be able to keep improving that. So the comparison should always be, are you at the best place where you can be? Certainly not, but it is much better than where we were a year ago. Challenges, faculty workload, for example, how many credits are you going to add to the, let's say, the full workload for a faculty member? we started with courses. The support class was 1 credit, but it had 2 contact hours. Like one of them was like a lab, right? And so what happens was, well, careful, we have full-time faculty members that are doing out of the goodness in their heart to be paid for 1 credit when they are holding 2 contact hours. We cannot do that with part-time faculty, right? Because of the Affordable Care Act. So we say, well, we're going to have to scale this back to just 1 credit, 1 contact. And soon we realized that 1 credit, 1 contact was not going to be enough to provide the support that these students need. So now we're at 2 credit, 2 contact. We have this discussion also that you have 3 credits, 3 contacts, and then you are evaluating right now, is 3 credits an overkill? Should we have 3 credits for a particular group? Some institutions are doing for different levels of academic preparedness, 3 credits or 2 credits or 1 credit. That definitely complicates the logistics of all this. We are doing 2 credits, 2 contact hours. Scheduling and space utilization. When are we going to schedule these correct courses? So we have 3 different pathways. We have college algebra, we have quantitative reasoning, and we have intro to math modeling. We do not have a stats pathway because as part of our GENET requirements, we do have an additional math course. So that's where the students get their stats in the second course. But those are 3 credit courses. And then where are we going to put the support? So we do on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday courses. We have the Tuesday, Thursday, just to make sure that we're using the entire block of 1 hour. And it allows us to just stack the courses. Again, there may not be a problem at your institution, but we have space problems, and we need to make sure that we use all the space as well as we can. For students that have that come just 2 days to campus, commuter students, we are exploring, should we do the correct before the class? Should we do the correct after the class? What in between those 2 models, what's going to bring us the best opportunity to keep them engaged? Some institutions have done it afterwards, and we realize that if you're done with the class, I'm done, I'm out of here, okay? When you do it before and then you're preparing them for what's gonna happen in the class, they may come right at the beginning. You prepare them to what's gonna happen in the class, and they feel a lot better after the fact. But again, this is not, I mean, really certainly not a one-fits-all model. That's something that we'll continue to explore. Faculty credentials. Well, we had faculty members that were teaching the developmental courses or part-time faculty that did not have the credentials to teach the gateway course. Now this is combined, how we're doing that. So at the College of Coastal Georgia, we have the same faculty member teaching both the gateway and the correct. So that, I mean, the challenges of communication, they're solved in the sense that it is the same person teaching both courses. So it is very easy for you to understand what are the challenges that students are facing on the gateway course to address them in the support course. Enrolling students in gateway and support courses. So you're a PeopleSoft institutions, right? We're a banner institution. There are a lot of different tools in those student information systems that can help us just coalesce, just co-requisite ideas, just so that there's no way for a student to enroll in the correct without enrolling in the gateway. There are a lot of different options that can be done to facilitate that. In terms of financial aid, well, yes, we need to be careful that if they pass the gateway course, right, they're done. If they, in the past, when we started this, they could have failed the correct and passed the gateway. Now we have a failing course. What are we going to do with that F in the transcript? If it was backwards, if the student passes the support and fails the gateway course, they still need to take the gateway course, right? And if the student failed, you could essentially say they still need the support. They haven't passed the course. How are you going to make them take the course if they have already a passing grade? That was an issue with financial aid. So the way of connecting those 2 grades via just this just weighting mechanism allow us to avoid that problem. And be ready to reevaluate placement thresholds. What are we doing to just make sure that the students that are placed in those courses that are really getting the best bang for the buck? Are we just putting too many students in the correct that could be essentially collegiate ready and pass the course without having the correct? So these are things that you need to keep reevaluating. So let's see, evaluating what? Gateway course composition and class sizes. We do have Also, the 50-50 composition that we were just discussing a few minutes ago. We have our classes are slightly smaller, so 30 students, 15 are co-rec, 15 are deemed collegiate grade. And we're still doing that because we're trying to make sure that we do not compromise the integrity of the content in the gateway course. So far, we have not done any change whatsoever in the gateway courses. It's the exact same course that we have taught in the past, and we just wanted to be careful that if all the students were co-rec students, we could have run the risk of the course being treated differently simply because you're trying to get the students to pass, or the course may be going slower, or if you have the same type of students, you may end up separating what's happening in the gateway and in the support class where things start getting mixed up. The gateway course has not been touched in any way whatsoever. That's not to say that we shouldn't do that, because that course is not an excellent course, right? We need to also improve the gateway course, but we have separated those two stories just to make sure that we're not compromising the integrity of that course. Evaluate the number of credits of the prerequisite support course. We have talked about that. We evaluate the onboarding and professional development for faculty engaging in remediation. It is not enough for you to tell them this is the content and that's it. The faculty need to be really well prepared to provide the support that these students need. As we discussed, it's not about the content. I've had some faculty members that say, oh, so you want me to teach the content and also teach them study skills and also give them the support to stay in college? And the answer is yes, right? That's what you need to do. But some faculty really believe that that's not their job, okay? And I mean, it is understandable. I mean, it may be like that in different institutions. The College of Coastal Georgia is an access institution, and that is part of your role as a faculty member. It's not just to deliver the content. Now, you need to be careful also because the alignment and what's going to be the right fit for the faculty member, that's something that you need to consider as a department chair, for example. I remember saying, well, every faculty member needs to take their turn at the bat and teach one of these courses. I ended up putting a faculty member in one of those courses. It was a complete flop. I should have been more intentional and just recognize that even though I want everyone to be engaged, there will be some faculty members that are just not going to be a good fit for a model like this. And then finally, reevaluate placement thresholds. Let me dig deeper in this for a minute. So this is just a logistic model for the probability of success. This could be any type of placement index. It could be SAT, it could be ACT, it could be a combination of SAT, high school GPA. And then, of course, the better the index, the better the placement scores, the higher the probability of success. Now, whenever you use these, you need to make sure that, well, you're not using them on these areas of the 20% success rate, right? They're not going to be as important when all your students are passing at the 90s or 80s. So we need to concentrate somewhere there in the middle, all right? So I'm going to show you a couple. This is just for illustration purposes only. These are two different courses, the blue course, the orange course. And this is, we call it at our, the College of Coastal Georgia and throughout the university system of Georgia, the math placement index. It's just a combination of different measures. And then for one single measure, let's just take 1200. This a student that has a 1200 score has a probability of success of a little bit greater than 60% chance of passing. And then on the orange course, it is going to be 30-something%. So what could be those two courses? This could be a college algebra course, and this could be a calculus course, right? It is just a harder course that this is going to be your chance of passing this course. With that particular score, you had a 60% chance of passing that one, but for calculus, it's not going to be as high anymore, right? The reality is this. This data actually comes from the orange course, was the foundations course. So imagine we're saying you are too weak. We're going to give you, this is just a diagnosis and treatment game, right? You are considered to be too weak. We're going to give you this additional course to help you be more successful. This threshold is completely arbitrary. We say, this is something new, but if you are below this score, we're going to say that you're just too weak in math and we're going to give you something else. That something else was actually reducing the probability of success simply because of the compound effect of the attrition, right? So the course, it could have had an okay success rate, but if the students take the course and never show up, again, which happened a lot in English. We had really good students with really good scores that we put them in a foundation course for English. They passed the course and never came back, okay? So it's not only about their ability to do something, it's about how they feel, how they're reacting to the collegiate experience. So yeah, you're too weak, we're gonna put you in something that is actually reducing your probability of success. So I'm telling you all this story just to say, we try to create something that would help those students that needed it the most, to then realize that that's something that we created was not helping them whatsoever. So it is true that this is for the entire university system of Georgia, across every ACT score, across every SAT score. The ones that ended up in the co-reg, this is the orange and the red, ended up with much better success rates than those that were going into the foundation scores. So of course, if the scores are better on the ACT, the probability of success does go up, okay? But in general, even at lower levels of preparation, going straight into the co-reg is still going to be better. Same thing happens with SAT. If you put them straight into the co-reg, how could that happen that some institutions were putting them in one or the other one? Well, we had different MPIs. So we had pretty much like statistical twins on every group, that some ended up in the co-reg, some ended up in the foundation, and the co-reg just outperformed all across the different levels of academic preparedness. And so, okay, we're gonna put everyone in co-reg. Now still, how are we going to determine which ones need the co-reg? Which ones are we going to deem as collegiate ready? The system office, let me skip this here for a second. The system office said, all right, the score after studying different institutions is going to be 1265. And then we realized, okay, that's still going to be some arbitrary value. We realized that, yes, careful, if the scores is better, yeah, students are still going to be doing better than if the scores are low. But what's going to be the treatment? The treatment in this case was this blue line, that's the success rate for the co-reg. It is at that threshold, it is actually better to put them in the co-reg. So if you are just slightly to the right, we don't give you the support that you need, and your probability of success is going to be lower. So instead of using that score, which the system office gave us, this was our institutional data, we kept moving this. This point here will be the point at which the two models would just be essentially doing the same. And then in that case, well, if you're deemed collegiate ready, you have to pay for 2 credits less, right? So we ended up moving and choosing a different score that would separate them. But again, this is just something that you're going to have to just simply dig deeper after you start implementing these models. So let me go back. This was then our final result. This slide just has a lot of information, so do not worry about this. But the general notion is that we're using several placement measures. So instead of using just one that combines all, that we call the MPI, we're also using high school GPA. We're using ACT, SAT, AccuPlacer as just ways in which the student can be exempt from the co-requisite support. So by default, everyone goes into co-reg, but if you have one of these exempting criteria, then boom, you're out, okay? Now, we still have the problem, and this was a huge pushback for the case of college algebra. Are we going to put everyone into college algebra with co-reg? The spectrum of academic preparedness would have been so wide of students that just had absolutely no preparation to be successful in college algebra, that we said, okay, can we handle this with quantitative reasoning and intro to math modeling? Yes, we can place everyone by default into quantitative reasoning, into intro to math modeling. But if you are in a path that requires calculus and you do not have those scores, you're going to have to start with intro to math modeling with co-reg and then do college algebra, okay? If you have the scores, you can be completely exempt and go straight into college algebra. If you have a not so good scores, you could still do college algebra with co-reg. But if you have a very large gap in academic preparedness, you're going to have to start with intro to math modeling. Now, you could say, well, that's still an additional course before college algebra. That's like a prerequisite thing. But the good thing is that this is a course that will give them, that would satisfy their gen ed requirement. And if they have such a gap in preparation in, let's say they want to do engineering, okay, we need to come down to earth here just for a minute. You're going to take this course that will prepare you. If after this course you really want to be an engineer, yes, you're going to have to take college algebra. If after that point you say, well, probably this was not for me, you would be done with your gen ed requirement and go to a different discipline for which calculus is not going to be part of the pathway, and you're done. Okay, so we're moving from a foundations that was 4 credits that was not even giving them collegiate credit, all right, to now a 3 credit with correct, so 3 plus 2, only 2 of those credits are non-collegiate credits, and then if they're done there and they decide to just change their major, they would be done, okay? So that is it. Let's just open it up for questions in general, how to make this happen.
Can I just make one comment? Because our grading scheme is so different than yours, I just want to put another model out there. Our 2 courses are considered completely independent. The DEV, you get a pass or unsuccessful, so it's a P or a U. And in the college credit bearing class, you get whatever grade you get. We do not merge the grades. Yes, there are financial aid consequences, but whatever, you're registered for 2 separate classes, and so you're registered for 2 separate classes. We have not yet had anybody pass the college credit bearing class and fail the DEV, but I'm sure it'll happen. Like this semester, we have some students who think that they've been misplaced. So we monitor that data because we want to know if our placement is too strict. But if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. We don't interfere. We don't go back and fix their grade. But for students who pass the DEV and fail the college credit bearing class, we declare them to be remediation free because they've gone through the support. So if our remediation works, then the fact that they got it once, so we're monitoring that, but that's what we do. So we then let you into the college credit bearing class without having to take the, yeah. But we don't commingle grades.
Questions?
Yes. Lillian Kimball, CSU trustee. I'm not a math teacher. Could I get, I think I know what it is, but could I get a quick definition of gateway and co-requisite?
Yes.
I probably should have asked this in the beginning.
Yeah, so what I'm calling gateway is the course that would satisfy the general education requirement. That will be the college algebra, that will be the quantitative reasoning, all the math modeling for institutions that have a statistics, will be that stats course. And then the correct, that's going to be the course that is still going to have the developmental attribute that will not satisfy your graduation requirements for credit, but you still have to pay for those.
You ask a more complicated question than you think you did. We're part of Strong Start to Finish now, Ohio is, and their definition of a gateway is the first college level class you take that makes progress towards your degree. So by that definition, college algebra is not a gateway. There is no major on our campus that counts it towards the degree. But quantitative reasoning is, and intro to stats is. So it really depends on the gateway. So that's why I try to say the college credit bearing class as opposed to the gateway, because it's never clear to me what the.
Yeah, because like college algebra, if you're going into, let's say engineering, the first course will be calculus in that case.
I see.
So for that specific discipline, then the college algebra is not going to be enough. So it will be the first college level course.
Yeah.
Questions? Questions, anyone?
And we're ready to get down to the nitty gritty on like how to get this done. So just feel free to just ask questions. And one thing that I will mention right away is that we have a lot of different materials of things that other institutions have been doing. When we did this for the very first time, we created an implementation plan where we had all the curriculum proposals. I know that you're past that point, that you already have your courses in place, but for other states that are just starting to engage in this, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. So if there's any materials that could be useful, even let's say advising guidelines that we can share with you, we would be happy to do so. A lot of materials that are just CC by, you can just remix, adopt and adapt in any way that you want.
This question is actually for both of you. Okay, you mentioned earlier with regard to the university recognition of the faculty work okay, as we reevaluate and reassess all these things. How is that playing out now?
Well, so we're still early in the process, right? We had what I like to call the coalition of the willing, the people who were part of the initial grant who did all the designing, and they're really excited about the project. And then when we went to scale, suddenly people got letters from me when they got their course assignment saying, "Dear so-and-so, I'd like to welcome you to your first time teaching in the co-requisite model. You'll notice that you were assigned 2 sections. This is artificial. This is just for purposes of registration, blah, blah, blah," and explaining. We did talk a lot in department meetings about the fact that we'd gotten the grant for co-requisite remediation and so on and so forth, but the reality of being in it is different. The university has consistently recognized this as one of its keystone retention initiatives, and retention is a priority for us right now, a huge priority for us. You all are very far away from us, so you don't know that actually Wright State is going through some horrific financial issues, really quite horrific. When I use the word horrific, I'm not using it lightly. And retention is one of our best levers, really, that we have at the moment. And so the work gets presented to the Board of Trustees as a keystone initiative. The provost came and listened to our faculty give presentations about the project and how it's unfolding. I don't think that had ever happened before in the history of the department. And the state regards this as its poster child for going to scale, and faculty are invited to present at panels to other institutions in the state. I think for people who have doubts, it does make a difference to have doubts in that kind of environment where, because it is a lot of work, and it brings up a lot of doubts, I think, in faculty of, there's an understandable gut reaction to this initiative that you're just postponing the inevitable. That somehow we're gonna work really, really hard, give you all the support, and you're gonna get through this course, but then eventually you're really not gonna make it through because the next course isn't gonna have that support. One of the big advantages for us was in addressing this was that our first pilots actually, our very first pilot was in quantitative reasoning, and most of the students in that pilot were juniors and seniors who were successful students in their majors in the College of Liberal Arts and had failed the DEV over and over and over again. And wouldn't you know it, they got A's in the quantitative reasoning class and they graduated and left. And so it has given us a very positive narrative and has given us insight into some actual barrier to people who are successful in our institution who are not going to make it through, and that we've actually unclogged that. I think those success rates are going to change a little bit once we go to the first year, but no matter what we do. And the other thing is that recognizing that we've changed the 30% success rate, right? That is what we've changed, is a 30% success rate. So no matter, and I always tell our faculty, I say, I can't imagine what you could do in the classroom that would make it so that you only had a 30% success rate. Like what, it was inconceivable to me that could ever happen to you. And it's inconceivable to them too. They just wouldn't tolerate it. They would go to people's dorm rooms and say, "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're doing, but you come out of there right now," right? I mean, our faculty care very passionately about their students. We do not have any classes with 30% success rates.
I'll add empowering faculty to drive change. I mean, it's so important that the faculty are the ones just carrying out this work. It is definitely a very delicate balance of just getting either the support or mandate that is coming from above to make this happen, and just the grassroots movement, but just finding that middle where we're making things happen with that support. Having deadlines certainly works, right? The state of Texas is going to full correct. And then they just scaled it back and say, we're going to go to full correct, but we're going to go to 25%, and then 50% and 75% as just a compromise. But when the compromise is you're having students that are still stuck in a model that we know is not working well, you just have to be very careful. I understand that you don't want to get those changes completely thrown at you. But when the alternative is we keep using a model that we know it doesn't work, we need to try something different, even that something different is just completely obscure to all of us right now. I have faculty that tell me, you tell us what's the best model to teach the correct, and guess what? We're building it, right? So we just need to have that conversation on what that best model is. If you look at this, let me go back here for a minute. This, students that have such, College of Coastal Georgia is an access institution. So us receiving students over here and saying, well, we're going to put you in co-rec, that doesn't look very good either, because we're talking about success rates in the 40%, right? So yeah, the co-rec, I feel your concern, right? If you're saying putting these students that are so weak into co-requisite courses is not the answer. We can see that the data shows that, yeah, it is not the answer, but we need to keep evolving. And whether this is not the answer, it is certainly better than the 28%, right? So let's figure out what can we do with this to keep improving it and making it better. College algebra alone doesn't have a good success rate, right? Do we have to reevaluate college algebra? Certainly, right? That's something else that we need to do not only for the students that need developmental education, but for everyone in general. But just, for example, thinking of this staggered approach is helping us right now, because the students that are going into college algebra are all of a sudden much better students. And so the college algebra is actually getting a boost, where the students that are there because they know how that material is going to be useful. We're doing, you said that you were doing a great job of placing the students in the right path. We're just getting there. We still had a lot of students going into college algebra because it was the default, because advisors thought that was the safest route. Now we have nursing faculty, when they had to select the right pathway, we had nursing faculty that would tell us, oh, you just want to give us the watered down math. We just want the good math, the college algebra. And hold on, let's think about that for a minute. What we did is, because they wanted college algebra, nursing faculty wanted college algebra for their nurses, just because they had to take it, all right? I had to take college algebra when I did nursing school. My students need to take it too. Let's take a step back, okay? And let's look at the course learning outcomes. Let's look at what the student is going to know at the end of the course. Forget about the title. We presented that to them, and they realized that half of the things in the college algebra student learning outcomes, they didn't even recognize as a nursing practitioner, right? Do you want the students to, I have no idea what this is, right? Whereas the quantitative reasoning had all the components that they needed. So the University System of Georgia has reached out to the different councils of the different disciplines to say, it is going to be your choice to see what's going to be the right math pathway. And that's something that is being done at the state level. But I remember last week, the chancellor, our vice chancellor for academic affairs, which happens to be a mathematician, said, we'll reach out to the disciplines, and the disciplines that we told them, you can pick whatever math pathway you want, but you need to pick the right one. So they're going back, and the disciplines that pick the wrong pathway, they're going back and say, yeah, you can pick the pathway, but you need to pick the right one, right? And so go back and look at all the different things that are done in each of the pathways to make sure that you're selecting the one.
Thank you. In the CSU, we're about to embark on attaching to this, working with local high schools. And it's not just an issue of summer melt, it's senior melt. Students not taking any math their senior year. Any input you have, either of you, in terms of any collaboration with local high schools, or is this primarily once they get to university, this is where we take them from there?
So we have done something called vertical team meetings, where we have meetings every month where we have faculty members, we have teachers from elementary, middle, high school, and then from the college. And we've learned a lot of things. First of all, we were very quick to blame high school teachers, right? And then when we started having these conversations, we learned that the high school teachers were blaming middle school teachers, and middle school teachers were blaming elementary school, and the elementary school teachers were blaming the parents. And we said, now we just need to stop with this narrative. We have them here for 16 years, let's come up with something. We have had some, like the foundations course ended up making it into the high school just so they didn't have to do the foundations. But beyond that, I wish I could tell you that we're doing a better job doing that alignment. There are a lot of things that we could be doing better.
In Ohio, at the state level, we have an Ohio Math Initiative, and they have started conversations about having foundations quantitative reasoning or quantitative reasoning introduced into the high school curriculum. at the level of the institution and the department, we have not had any outreach because frankly, I don't know how to have that conversation without it turning into a blame game. It's already easy enough for the faculty to say, now you're burdening me with, right? So I think I've just focused the entire conversation on here they are, and this is who they are. And I always tell them we have, one of the hardest things, one of the most complicated things, it hasn't been hard as in people can't get over it, but it's been surprising how many iterations of the conversation we've had to have to make sure that the content is appropriate. This developmental course is not a developmental course that's supposed to fill all gaps that ever happened in K through 12. This is a targeted developmental course. And I always say, you know, we've decided that Stat 1600 is a college level class. And if that is the only class you take out of our department, and you are still okay to graduate from this institution. If you don't agree with that anymore, I'm happy to sit down and look at Stat 1600. But if you agree with that, then the only goal of this developmental class is to help them pass that because you have told me that this is sufficient. This is a college level class. So that has been really, really hard. And so I would just be really wary of introducing another dimension of saying, and then look at all the other things that they can't do. So I always tell the faculty, and that's why we have a math ed group in our department, that they are constantly in outreach with the high schools and the elementary schools, and they're working as best they can so that we don't need students in the DV. But that's a different conversation. Right now, we're focusing on students who need to pass this class that you have assured me is a good class.
So, thank you. So I guess it goes without saying that these two distinguished presenters deserve a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience. So with that, I don't want to stand between here and lunch. Thank you. Okay. Enjoy and safe travels.
Thank you.
And please remember, make sure that you contact us if you, I mean, we have a lot of information to share. Just feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to send you materials.
Absolutely.
Thank you.